before I get started, I would like to confess. If it happens to feel like the latter half of this video is less edited, that is because I got lazier and lazier as I was going through, and at one point I just stopped editing. So, yeah. I am tired of making this. I had a deadline I set for myself, and honestly, I did more editing than I was thinking. I thought I was going to do just like a straight take and then just post that. So the fact that I actually cut things is very impressive, and I'm surprised I even figured it out. But anyway, yeah. This is a very poorly edited video. But I hope you enjoy, I guess. I don't know. Just watch it. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, this feels so weird. I don't know. Oh my god. I'm actually like kind of okay, well, this was supposed to be published in January. So, last month. I was going to do like the whole, new year, new me thing, where I was going to post like a video at the end of the month. And then what happened was, I genuinely did record it. I wasn't going to do this video. I was going to do Wicked, but I didn't read Wicked in December, and so I was like, well, okay, well, I can at least do this. And I got so close. The video was like, I was almost at the end, and then my iCloud storage got full, and I lost 30 minutes of footage. So I gave up, and I was like, you know what, I'll just do this on Valentine's Day, because what's better than a single person giving you a Valentine's gift? You're welcome. Okay, this is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I'm going to be playing Minecraft in the background. Oh my god. There you go. Is that stimulating? I don't know what I'm doing. I have a mirror behind you so I can see in like the viewfinder. I feel like I look so weird, but the phone's at an angle. So anyway, The Inheritance Games by Jennifer. I'm not left-handed. God, how cool would that be? I'm just kidding. That wouldn't be cool. My mother's left-handed. Anyway, that's not the point. Okay. I'm going to be giving you like a plot synopsis. I'm going to try to rush through it because I have a lot to say about this book. It's not negative.
Teehee, I lied. I meant to say it's not positive. It was very much negative. I did not mean to say that it was not negative. It is very much negative.
I do have a foreword for you. I read this book 4 years ago now, originally. I read it in the spring of my freshman year of high school because it was given to me from a friend for Christmas. And I'll be dead ass, I did not like it. I did not like it. And so I was like, oh, but I still have to like it because this is my friend, like we're super close. And then I don't talk to her anymore. So I'm allowed to have my opinions. Dude, I don't have YouTube without ads. You're gonna get ads throughout this entire thing. That's something I learned as well. You'll probably get like a half hour of ads in this. And I'm not getting paid for any of them. Anyway, I didn't like it. Oops. Sorry. I'll just put you back. There you go. I didn't like this book. So, I put memes in here too. I'm trying to make this as interesting as possible. Look, book reviews are not very fun to watch on YouTube. I enjoy watching them, but I'm usually playing like Minecraft or Roblox in the background. Not even gonna lie. I'm usually playing a video game. So we're going through this in this manner. I am putting visuals on the screen so you can at least not read it. I know you can't read this. I can't read it, but you can at least watch the video and the ads. Again, I can't do anything about that. We'll try to see if I can write with my left hand. I'm gonna go over plot as detailed as I can without going like super long, which is gonna be difficult because I yap. And then I'm gonna go over like my like form and like style kind of analysis. You know what I mean? No, you don't. Let's go. Okay. plot. So, it opens with Avery. I don't have the book in front of me, so this is like completely spitballing. Avery Kylie Grams, our main character, is saying that her mom was always inventing games. And it's this weirdly placed flashback, because it's like, she ends it like, and then one day she was gone. And then she's just playing chess in the park with a homeless person. It's very odd. But she's playing chess in the park with a homeless person. His name is Harry. So, she's playing chess in the park with Harry. Her deal with Harry is, if I win, I get to buy you lunch. And he's really mad, but he can't win against her because she's so smart and intelligent and she knows how to play chess. And so she wins and she buys him lunch. She gets to school. I'm so not left-handed. I can't do this. Okay, she gets to school. And she says this line. She says, how little effort could I put in and still get an A? She has this conundrum. She's a straight A student, but she would rather work than get A's. So she does the least amount of effort as possible to get the A and be able to work at the same time, like to get a shift. And so she's sitting here, like, she's not an exceptional student. She's not known for being like a trendsetter, if you will. But there's this one class, and it's, I think, like her chemistry or something. I don't know. There's this one class where this teacher is notoriously difficult to pass. He never gives out perfect scores. And sorry, that probably got really loud, because of his condition, I suppose, Avery is determined to get the best grade possible in this class, just to, like, stick it to him, I guess. And so she gets called into the principal's office. And she goes, what did I do? And they go, you're not known for setting the curve, and you got 100. And she's like, okay. And they're like, you probably cheated. She's like, no, I didn't. And so she has to retake the test. They go, you can retake it tomorrow. She goes, no, I'm going to take it today. So she retakes it today, and then she goes home. She gets in a fight with her sister. See, her sister has this on and off abusive relationship with her boyfriend, and she is an apology baker. So Avery comes home, her sister's making muffins, I think? I don't remember. And she's like, why are you making muffins? And her sister's like, don't be mad. And she's like, well, I am mad now. So she goes and she sleeps in her car. She texts her BFF. I'm not going to mention her that much. I honestly did not like her. Nor do I feel it is important to mention her because she does absolutely nothing for the story. So she goes back to school. She's in the principal's office again. She's called up. Huge hurry. Her sister is there. She goes, oh my God, is it my dad? See, sister Libby, that is her name, not sister. Her name is Libby, and she and Avery are half-sisters. They have different mothers, but the same father. And so when Avery's mother died, Libby's mother is kind of like a deadbeat, so Libby kind of raised herself. When Avery's mother died, Avery went to live with Libby because she wasn't old enough to live on her own. And so Libby kind of raised her after her mother's death. And so Avery is like, what's the hurry? Is my dad dead? Like, what is happening? And a certain someone is sitting in the principal's chair, and he turns around and he goes, I think he said, what is the line? I don't remember, I didn't write it down. He says, Ricky Grams, he's basically like, last I checked, Ricky Grams, whatever his name is, Licky Grams, is alive and well, passed out in a motel in, I think, like, Ohio or something. I don't think it's Ohio. I actually do not remember. So, she describes him. He's not much older than her. This I did not pick up on at all. When I was reading this, and one of my biggest gripes with the story was that I had no sense of how old the characters were. Like, I'll be so dead ass. I did not understand how old each of and we'll get into it later, but like the Hawthorne boys, I could not tell you how old they were. It tells you explicitly. I did not pick up on any of it. So, I wrote here that I thought he was 15. Just like when grown-ups write children, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like the old Disney, like, straight to DVD, or like the, like, Disney Channel shows, where it's like, yeah, you've definitely never interacted with a teenager before. That's how I felt about the depiction of a certain Grayson Hawthorne. And basically 3 out of 4 of the Hawthorne boys. And even then, Nash, I did not. We'll get into him. That sounds weird. We will not be getting into him. We will be talking about him, though. So anyway, this is Grayson Hawthorne. That was a really good circle. And so I wrote Grayson, more like gray eyes. His eyes are mentioned so many times in this. It actually became grating. At the point that I started writing notes in this book, it was probably a third of the way through. And that's how you know I'm annoyed with a book, because I never write in books. I started writing in it. And I had all of my little notes, and my big one was, okay, we get it. His eyes are gray. I got so mad by that point. And so, we'll get there. But anyway, Grayson's in a suit. I think it's a gray suit. Grayson in a gray suit. And he knows where the dad is or something. He turns around, so he's sitting in the principal's chair. Avery's expecting to see the principal because that's the principal's chair, and he turns around like a villain with a cat in his lap, and he's like, your father's fine. And she's kind of just like, who is this dude? And so anyway, she's immediately simping for him. It's chapter 4. And what I heard about this book before I got into it was it's supposed to be like an enemies to lovers slow burn. I got neither of those. I was like, what? I don't get it. But the thing is, my theory is Grayson Hawthorne, because there are 4 of these books and I will finish the other 3. My theory is Grayson Hawthorne is Endgame. Here's why. His eyes are mentioned. So he was introduced on page 11. And by page 12, his eyes are already mentioned twice. And they say the eyes are the window to the soul. So anyway, I did make a counter for how many times Grayson's eyes are mentioned. This is mostly when his eye color is mentioned, but if it's also like, oh, he looked at me, or he looked down at me, or we looked at each other, or we locked eyes, that kind of thing, I also did mention those. I took creative liberty, if you will. Sometimes I mentioned it, sometimes I just completely left it alone. Because sometimes I was like, yeah, that's not really important. I don't care. Anyway. So, Avery's like, how do you know my father? And he goes, it would be best, for the moment, for you to assume I know everything. And Avery says, a guy who thinks he knows everything. That's new. And he says, a girl with a razor-sharp tongue. And this is the first of many really badly written, witty comebacks. I did not like this book. I was reading through, and I was like, oh my god, these comebacks are so bad. And it makes it sound like, oh, Avery is so witty. Avery is so cunning. She's so smart. She doesn't do anything on her own. Throughout the entire story, she does like 2 things on her own. And even then, she still needs the Hawthorne boys. It's annoying. We'll get into it. Okay, so. And then Avery mentions gray eyes. That was the first thing she mentioned about him. Mentioned it again, gray eyes too. By the time we're on page 12, there are 3, meaning there is an average from when Grayson was introduced of more than 1 eye count per page. He is mentioned, his eye color is mentioned even when he is off page. It's actually like clinically insane. I don't get it. It's so bad. So anyway, Grayson's like, have you been getting our letters? And Avery's like, what letters? And Libby is like super guilty. Like, you know when like dogs, like you're shaming your dog for like destroying like your toilet paper and they're looking down and they're giving you like the side eye? That's what Libby's doing in the corner, right? And so she's like, Libby, what does he mean letters? And Libby's like, I thought they were scam mail. I didn't think they were real. Why would I have thought they were real? And she's been throwing away her mail. So she has been committing mail fraud because she's been opening Avery's letters and throwing them away. And so Mr. Pale Eyes Grayson Hawthorne, this is page 13, his eyes already mentioned 5 times, he goes, oh, it's for Tobias Hawthorne. Does that name mean anything to you? This was supposed to be like supplementary to the book, but I have mentioned I do not have the book here with me. So, I mean, I do. It's literally like 5 feet away. I could grab it. I don't want to. But I wrote, There was this line where Avery said, "I'm pretty smart." I underlined it and I wrote, So he's like, yeah, my grandfather died. You're in the will. We need you at the reading of the will. And arrangements have already been made. And so his gray... I don't know what that last word is, but I mentioned his eyes again, so that's 6. His eyes are mentioned a 7th time with what money couldn't buy him, those eyes probably did. Girl, you met this dude literally like 4 pages ago. Stop simping over him. Have some dignity, have some self-respect. Like, calm down. So, anyway, they're like looking up Tobias Hawthorne, and Libby's like, he's a philanthropist. She's like, you know what that means? It means he's rich. And then Avery goes, actually, it means that he gives money to charity. And Libby's like, so he's rich. I did not like Avery. She cannot take a joke to save her life. And the thing is, I'm really bad at social cues. I'm really bad at picking up when people are making jokes. Even I could tell when there were jokes in here, and Avery couldn't. And you know what? That's not a crime. But in the same breath, you can't say you're witty and then not get a joke. You know, even if you don't find it funny, you still have to be able to understand that it's a joke. So, you know, she's starting to wonder, okay, how did Tobias Hawthorne know me? Was it my mom? Because they find out that Avery was in the will. Libby wasn't, but Avery was. And so, Libby's like, we have to go. And Avery's like, we can't just leave. Like, I have work. And Libby's like, dude, I already called off of work for you. Like, we're going. And so they fly to Texas. I drew an airplane here. You're welcome. This is page 17, chapter 5. That was another thing. The chapters are awfully short in this, which made it easy to read it for the second time to write these notes, but makes it really odd pacing. It's not an inherently bad thing when a book has short chapters. It's just, you know, it sometimes leaves something to be desired. I don't know. Anyway, here's a meme that I found. You can, like, pause and read it. I don't know if you can even see it. You can zoom in, I guess, enhance it. Anyway, I'm not going to be going into too much detail with the images because I have a lot to talk about. And there's not that many. They're just for you to look at. Anyway, they're on the plane. She finds out that Tobias Hawthorne is worth $46.2 billion. That's with a B. $billion. And so they get to the place. I am still a little confused as to what this place is. Okay, so it's later on. There's a puzzle with Hawthorne House where she's given keys and she has to figure out how to get in. Right, but right now, she's at Hawthorne House. So, no, I don't know. Anyway, there's people in there. Like, they could have let her, I don't know. Anyway, not the point. The point is, she texts Max, who is her BFF. Again, I'm not going to mention her. I don't care. And she finds out that they will be staying at Hawthorne House. There are, like, multiple lawyers for the will. I think there's, like, 4 or something. There's, like, anywhere from 2 to 4 lawyers for this will. And she's like, how important is this will? Like, that's kind of crazy. And so, yeah, she talks about the one lawyer. She's like, she was someone. Yeah, you're in a rich person's home. You're talking about a lawyer. Like, yeah, she's kind of someone. Like, I don't know what you're... Avery, get it together. Stop being so, like, melodramatic right now. Anyway, so no one, not even the lawyers that's supposed to be Circle, no one knows the contents of the will. They just know that Tobias Hawthorne had this will, blah, 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 blah. Right? And they're all nervous. They're like, what is this? Like, I can't even call her a country bumpkin because she's not from the country. What is this loser doing here? What is this pauper doing here? Like, at this reading of the will? Why was she requested? Because the stipulations behind the will was that certain parties had to be present for it to be read, and Avery was one of them. And so they've been putting off reading the will of this dead man for like almost months because Libby has been committing mail fraud. They're going through, like, okay, is everyone here, right? Avery's getting introduced to people. The one lawyer who ends up becoming a very important character, her name is Alyssa. She is like, oh, it's really something else. And then, Avery's like, I think he was really something else. And Alyssa's like, yeah, you're a good guesser. Yeah. I don't know. The thing is, Avery will say some of the most basic shit and then just get away with it. And that is a little disheartening. You know? Anyway. So, no one, including Avery, knows her relation to Tobias Hawthorne. Alyssa warns her, don't fall for any of the Hawthorne boys. It's inferred that she was with Nash. Later on is confirmed that they were fiancés. We don't know why the engagement was broken off. We just know that they were fiancés, but then they broke up. Right? So, we meet Grayson again. His eyes are mentioned again, because his eyes are always mentioned. Silvery gray eyes with 8 on page 22. Yeah, he pulls his little brother Xander out from a coat closet. Xander, I had the most age confusion with, because the thing is, right, the way that Xander is written, he seems like he's at least, like, he seems like he's at most, like, 12 years old, the way that he's written. He loves sweets, he's super energetic, he's super blah, 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 like, those can be traits of a 15-year-old, because I think he's genuinely, like, 15 or 16. Those can be traits of an older kid, but the way that he carries himself and the way that he acts is so immature, I did not believe it. And so, yeah. Anyway, Grayson, it's established he was 19. I thought he was like 14. I thought he was like 14 or 15. His mom says, you're 19. Would it kill you to act like it? No one in this book talks like a normal human being. It is so weird. Anyway, Xander, he's really cocky. He loves sweets. He's 6'3". That part also went straight over my head. Avery talks about how well Xander fills a suit. I did not read that, apparently, because I thought he was 12. All of the Hawthorne boys are half-brothers. Their mother is Sky Hawthorne. He is one of the 3 Hawthorne children. So Tobias Hawthorne, the guy that died, is their grandfather. So, you know, that's kind of their relation, right? Sky kind of just goes and messes around with men. That's just kind of her character. And so all of her boys are half-brothers. Anyway, Grayson's really pretentious. He says something about, like, he basically says, would it be, this is like me paraphrasing, but like, would it be such a detriment for you to sit completely still for 3 consecutive seconds? Like, he says it in something like some manner like that. I hate him. He acts, like, the way that he talks is like a 14-year-old that's trying to sound mature. And that's what made it feel like he was so young. It didn't feel like some 19-year-old, like, heir apparent, which that's how they refer to him, as the heir apparent. It didn't feel like that. It felt like a 14-year-old trying to act like an adult. So anyway, she feels Grayson staring at her, making it 9, page 28. He was introduced on page 11. So, you know, that's an interesting start. We meet Mama and Aunt Hawthorne and Zara, that's the aunt, her husband. They're not awfully important. Grayson's the heir apparent. Nash, we meet Nash. He's the oldest. He's the only one that, he's the closest I was to guessing his age. I think I was still a bit off. But I think he's like 23. I thought he was like 21. So I was like, I wasn't that bad. Like, the difference between 21 and 23 and 12 and 15 is humongous. And so I was like, okay, well, that one's not that bad. Nash, I was certain, was his age. Or somewhere around there. We learned that he's exes with Alyssa. Again, it's, you know, it's whatever. That's mentioned quite a few times. Nash doesn't care for the fortune. He doesn't really like any of these games. He's kind of just here to, like, be here. Like, he's required to be here for the reading of the will, so he's doing this for everyone else. I think the people who are required to be there were Avery, the boys, and then, like, maybe his daughters. I don't know. Not everyone that was there was required to be there. Avery, she's such an empath. Everyone is grieving the loss of this important man in their lives. So she needs to step outside and get some fresh air. And while she's out there, she meets a very drunk, very shirtless Grayson. Jameson Hawthorne. I'm going to confuse their names this entire time. Their names are so similar and stupid at the same time. It's honestly appalling to me. So, Jameson, very drunk, very shirtless. Every time he's drunk, he's shirtless. Which is to say, the 2 times he's drunk, he's shirtless. If I had a nickel, I'd have 2. So he tells Avery a riddle, something about triangles, like if a triangle has 3 sides. Well, it was like, what was it? If yes is no and up is down, how many sides does a triangle have or something? I don't know. It was really stupid. It was really dumb. And Avery, like, she kind of immediately knows, but she doesn't say anything. Like, she doesn't tell the reader, but the way that she answers it later on kind of tells you, okay, she knew, she just wasn't saying anything. And so Jameson, very drunk, Jameson is very drunk, and he's on the balcony. So he's, like, grieving the loss of his grandfather on a balcony, on a second floor balcony. And so she's like, no, don't do it, don't jump. And he's like, dude, who do you think you are? And he, like, grabs onto the railing, and he, like, swings down, and she's like, oh my god. And then he's like, hey, mystery girl, and he calls her that for the rest of the book. I can't make this up. He calls her Eris, he calls her mystery girl, he calls her MG. It's an acronym. I'm like, I did not like this book. The characters don't make any sense. So, anyway, he calls her mystery girl. I wrote yuck. We get to the will. The will is read. My theories. I get back to it. Grayson is endgame. The book kind of establishes Jameson as the more main love interest, but I think Grayson's endgame, his eyes are mentioned too many times to not be, you know what I mean? They say the eyes are the window to the soul. And, like, there is not a trait, my nose is so itchy, there is not a trait about Jameson that is mentioned as many times as Grayson Hawthorne's eyes. There is not a single other detail that is mentioned as often as Grayson Hawthorne's eyes. Even important plot details are not mentioned as often. It is actually baffling to me. So, we'll get into that. Because I was like, also, she's too attracted to him too early on. Like, let's be real. So, each of them received letters. Each of the people who got whatever from the will received letters. Here's how it is arranged. We have 2 payments of $100,000, $300,000, $100,000 a year for his mother-in-law. So I'm going to give her 10 years. That's $1 million, right? And then $50K for someone else. That's about $550, not including this, right? And then each of the Hawthorne boys gets $250,000. So that's another $1 million. So we have about $3.55 million that is given away. So if you take $46.2 billion and you subtract, because the thing is his mother-in-law also got, and debt. He was like, and anything for debt to be paid off. I don't know how much debt constitutes, and so I gave him like $50,000, like $500,000. Because I was like, I don't know. Avery's gonna get that much anyway in like a second, so it's whatever, it's fine. So, doing some quick math, 3.5 million is not even close to 46.2 billion. So where did the rest of it go? Well, Avery's inheritance, after everything is portioned, Avery is allocated $46,196,450,000 plus every property and asset otherwise unmentioned in the will. So they're all pretty pissed about this. Grayson, as the heir apparent, is big mad. Avery just got 99.9921360.7% of Mr. Tobias Hawthorne's, like, life earnings, right? This guy, I think, was like 78, he died. So, we then learn about Toby, right? One of the Hawthorne girls, I don't know if it was Zara or if it was Sky, was like, he's never been the same since Toby died. We know Toby would have messed it up. Toby is their brother. I mentioned that there were 3 of them. Toby's the third. He died at like 17. He died 10 years ago. And so Zara was thinking that Grayson would snatch the inheritance from her as the oldest because, well, he was the guy's favorite, right? When in reality, Grayson didn't even get that much. Grayson theoretically got less money than his grandmother. So that's really saying something, right? We're like, okay, well, what is happening? Right? Avery, brand new billionaire. She's terrified she'll be murdered. She was just in front of a family of rich people. I don't know if the camera's still on. Hello? Oh, cool, my phone's glitching. I'm just gonna continue where I left off. I'm not re-recording that. That was 30 minutes. I don't care that much. I noticed right when it did that, what happened was my my phone went into, like, the little, like, it's... Hang on, I'm gonna move you a little... Okay. My phone went into you have 20% left. So I'm kind of in a race against the clock right now. Anyway, that's beside the point. What was I saying? Yeah, Toby died. Big whoop. Anyway, so Avery's a billionaire. She's terrified that the family's gonna murder her. And here we learn about some of the clauses for forfeiting their inheritance. See, no one is allowed to challenge Avery on her inheritance, right? If they do, they will lose it. As a stipulation in the will, they are not allowed to kill her. If they do, theoretically, and this is later disproven or debunked or something, I don't even know, but theoretically, it all goes to charity instead, right? But Avery must live in Hawthorne House for 1 year. So she has to live where she thinks she's going to be murdered for 1 year. But hey, they can't murder her because then they're not going to get the money. So, anyway, Avery's inheritance is about 99% of monetary assets, all properties and estates, and anything not explicitly allocated in the will, right? So, pretty much everything. She has this entire monopoly now on money. It's actually kind of ridiculous. She's rich. So, Grayson. Grayson? Who? Grayson. I swear I can say my S's. Grayson. Oopsies. I didn't mean to touch the screen. Grayson tries to kick Avery out. And Alyssa's like, well, technically, this is her house now. And Grayson, he's big mad. He's so upset. He does not want this. And then we meet Oren. This is my fat cat. This picture, I'll get back to that. This picture was taken completely upright. This tower is leaning because she is so heavy, it's splintering at the bottom. Anyway, we don't know why she's like that. But we love her. Sorry, you don't have your Minecraft. I apologize. I reset your Minecraft because I didn't know if I was going to have to delete that, and then I decided, yeah, I could just splice it together. Anyway, Oren. Oren was Tobias Hawthorne's security detail. Now he's Avery's. And so Avery has a lawyer. She has a security detail. And she has $46.2 billion. And so she's like, no, you can have it back. I don't want it. And Libby's like, dude, that's $46.2 billion. Why would you return that? And Avery's like, dude, I don't want it. Like, I don't want them to murder me. And so she has to keep it. You know, whoop-de-doo. Otherwise, we won't have a book. Nash, he's just kind of like, this is kind of funny. Anyway, your sister's hot. And he goes and flirts with Libby. And so Avery, she needs a break. She's like, it's too tense in here. And so she goes and she stays the night at this, like, bougie hotel. And she's like, I can't afford this. And they're like, you own this hotel. We'll foot the bill. And so She stays the night at her own hotel that she has to pay for. I don't understand that. Anyway, she texts Max again. you know. Grayson is outside the room, and he's big mad. He's looking at her. That's 10. It's page 50, I think. His eyes were pools of gray. That's 11. More eyes, page 12. I didn't even write that quote down because I was like, I'm so tired of writing down eye quotes. If you think it stops here, just you wait. It gets so much worse. Anyway, she also owns a plane. Libby is flying home in her own personal plane to get their stuff because they only packed enough for one day. They're underprepared. Like, they don't have enough. They weren't expecting this, right? They were like, oh, we're going to go for the will. We're going to come home and we're going to just live our lives. No, they are not. They are not allowed to do that. So, oh my god, stop it. Stop. No. Don't mind my really bad tech skills. Look, I'm trying, okay? But I'm also a broke college student, and I don't have the money for YouTube Premium, so get off my ass, dude. Anyway, Avery owns a plane. And so Libby is getting their stuff, and there is a quote. There's a spelling error. There are multiple spelling errors in this that I mentioned, that I noticed skimming through. At one point it says less that. Page 54, less that. I don't know if this is fixed in later copies, because I got it, like, pretty much, I think, right when it was published. By the time that I finished reading this, the second book was still available for pre-order. I was, like, early. So, anyway. And now, there are 4 books. What do you know? I did not pre-order the second one, because I didn't care that much. I was tempted to. But then I was like, I'll just wait for it to come out. And then I never bought it. So I'll do that eventually. Anyway, paparazzi is swarming Libby's ex-boyfriend. Oh, yeah, this isn't important at all to the story. Avery's like, I'm gonna buy Harry a house, and then they don't let her. Anyway, paparazzi is swarming the ex-boyfriend. I don't know if that's awfully important. Anyway, Jameson gives Avery keys, and he goes, okay, let us in the house, mystery girl. And she goes, there's like 24 keys on this key ring, and he's kind of just like, that's how it be sometimes. And so she has to look through, and she's looking through, and she's like, all of them are the exact same, except for one. And so she gets them in the house. She did not struggle with that at all. And it's the only time she does anything on her own. Right? So they enter the house. This is, I said puzzle 2 of 2 that she solved on her own. I don't remember what the first one is. I'll be so for real. I don't remember what the first one was. I'm not reading this word for word. Anyway, silver eyes sharp on page 63. That's 13 times. So every time Jameson's on page, his eyes, his gaze, his eye color, they're always mentioned, like, constantly. And they're mentioned when he's not on page 2. So that's what the counter is. That's what the counter is for. It's mostly eye color, but there are some other things. Anyway, there's a whole Nash x Libby thing throughout the entire story. So Jameson is going into how, oh yeah, Avery solved the keys. She did it faster than any of us. Okay. Sure. Let's go with that. This girl who was raised with a single mother who would play, hey, let's look for the keys in the dark because I can't pay for the lights. She can solve a puzzle quicker than the boys who were raised to solve puzzles. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense to me. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, on page 66, there's something, I don't know. The boys are like wrestling. Nash like pins Xander down. Jameson, I'll talk about that. So Jameson, I thought, was the second oldest. So the order of the kids, right, is Nash, Grayson, Jameson, Xander, right? I thought it was Nash, Nash, Jameson, Grayson, Xander. I thought Jameson was his age. He's the only one I got right. I thought he was like 18. I thought Grayson was 14. I thought Grayson, what is his name? Xander? I don't even know. They all meshed together after a while. I thought he was like 12. So that kind of gives you a good indicator as to how poorly written these characters are. Anyway, they're like wrestling, and the way that it's described, I was like, I don't think Barnes has brothers. I have a twin brother. I would play wrestle with him. It is nothing like this. Like, he pins Xander down, and Xander just kind of like, oh, you got me. Oh no. Like, no, you fight. You fight tooth and nail to get on top. You don't sit there and be like, oh, I guess my older brother pinned me down. Which, to be fair, I was the oldest, but that's beside the point. You don't, like, it just doesn't, it's not realistic to me. You know what I mean? It's not realistic. It doesn't feel like she has brothers. And so the way that they're written doesn't really feel like natural siblings. It's odd. Anyway. The character interactions are all super awkward. I'll get into that. So, Jameson talks about how it's like a rite of passage, the keys. Xander is told to go show her to her wing, and he sneaks scones for them. She's like, do you hate me? And he's like, yeah, that's why I'm giving you the lemon scones. And she's like, dude, be for real. And he's like, you didn't do this. Anyway, that's that scene. Xander takes her to his wing. Grayson eye counter. She compares his eyes to his grandfather. She sees a photo of his grandfather on the wall, and she goes, oh my god, it's Grayson's eyes. So anyway, that's 14. Jameson sneaks in. There's a secret tunnel in her room through her fireplace, and Jameson sneaks in. He flirts with her, gives her his letter, and then he goes in. He just fucks off. So she's like sitting there in close proximity to Jason Hawthorne, and she's Jason, I'm probably gonna call him that a couple more times throughout this. She's like, oh my god, his lips. Okay, anyway, she's at school. Nothing happens at school except she has a bad day, and a girl tells her, hey, the last girl that spent hour by hour in that house died. Anyway, Grayson something or other. Grayson, oh, that's what that is. Grayson loves to raise his eyebrow. Like, Grayson, this entire time, he keeps going, like, you know, he's doing that, basically. He's mewing. He's, like, mogging at us. I did not count this throughout the book because his eyes were more prominent, but he does. I would just like you to know, anytime Avery does something, Grayson is likely to go, like, so just keep that in the back of your mind. Anyway, what I did like is that each of these characters do have very distinct mannerisms. Like, they do feel like different people. They just don't feel like people. And that's kind of the problem, isn't it? Anyway, so school was bad. There was a girl that died. Anyway, chapter 6. She wonders about Mr. Hawthorne's middle name. It's Tattersall. When we got Jameson's letter, it was signed off with his full name. But Avery's letter, which just said, I'm sorry. That's it. That's the whole letter. It was signed with initials. So she's like, what does it mean? What does his middle name mean? And she's sitting there like, Tattersall, like he tatters all, he leaves them all in tatters. Avery, grow a brain cell and realize you are not the thinker. You are not smart. That is so easy to pick up. So easy to pick up. Anyway. So, yeah, anyway. I wrote, wow, big brain. Anyway. Jameson leads her through a puzzle, like the rest of the book, where there's a weird book. He's like, it's a book where the contents don't match the cover. I don't think he talks like that. He probably's like, it's a book where, you know, like the guys on TikTok where they have like the insane vocal fry that's like not their voice. That's how I imagine Jameson Hawthorne. My bobby pin, I messed up my hair. He's like, it's a book that doesn't match its contents. So they're looking. And, oh, this is Honkai Star Rail. We'll get to it. Okay. I got excited. We'll get to it. So they're looking for the book. And we have this moment where Grayson comes in. right? And Grayson starts looking with them. And it's really cool. Well, that's later, I guess. There's an awkward silence, and there's like, I don't know, sexual tension or something, and then they call it a night, and then they come back in the next day, and Grayson starts helping them too, and then Jameson finds something. So Avery doesn't even find it. Jameson finds it, and then there's like a piece of like red filter paper in it. And she is like, oh my god, what does it do? And they're like, if there's something red, it shows you. And so she's like, oh my god. I hated this book. Anyway, before that though, there is the Strad. There is a room filled with instruments. It has all of the achievements of all the Hawthorne boys ever, apparently. It has patents, because they all are patented inventors, I guess. It has instruments, it has inventions, it has everything. And one of these instruments is a Stradivarius violin. This was the point I started marking in the book. It was this page 115. This book is almost 300 pages, so a little over a third of the way through. I thought it was like in the last act. It wasn't. It's like super close to the front. She sees a violin. And she approaches it, and she goes, oh, it has an S on one side of the strings, and carved on the mirror, and carved on the other side is a mirror image or something. And I was so confused. I was like, what do you mean? An S carved on the strings. And so I looked it up. I was like, maybe a Strad has an S on the fingerboard, right? I don't know. It's a Strad. You know what a distinguishing feature of a Strad is? It has mother of pearl around the ribbing. You could have mentioned the mother of pearl, and you decided to mention an anatomical feature of the violin that every single violin has, and not even do research to name it correctly. Like, it's the F hole. She's talking about the F hole. You know why it's called that? It's in the shape of an F. It looks like a forte. And she couldn't even, like, research that and be like, oh, that's the anatomical correct. Because it's like, why would you mention a feature of a person, like, of a thing, right? That every single thing has. Like, that would be like talking about a person and being like, he had a nose. It was a very, very nosy nose. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Not research, apparently. Because you wouldn't have made that mistake. That was what really messed me up. That pissed me off. Anyway, we have a photo of Honkai Star Rail with Don Hung saying, what stats? Blood glucose level? And I thought that was really funny. I was going through my camera roll, and I was like, I need to add stuff so this looks interesting. And that's what I did. You don't need to see another ad. You don't need to see the ads. It's okay. I got you. No, I don't. I notice it way too late. Anyway, moving on. So, that really annoyed me. And so, anyway, the other thing that annoyed me is that it's a Strad. They're rich, and so it's a Strad. It can't be any other instrument. It has to be a Strad. Dude, do a trumpet or something. I don't know. Like, $1 million trumpets are so much rarer than $1 million violins. Like, if you're to talk about how rich a person is, saying, oh, they have a Strad, is like the equivalent of saying, oh, this rich person has a Bugatti. Like, yeah, I mean, theoretically, a rich person could have that, but, like, that's not impressive to me. You know, like, oh, you're just gonna name drop a Strad just to be like, oh, look at how rich they are. I know that they're rich. She just got $46.2 billion inherited to her. You don't need to tell me twice. I get it. I understand. That's my mommy texting me. Anyway, we have... Mommy, stop it. She's on my, like, she's pinned, and so I'm in Do Not Disturb, but, like, she can still send messages through. So she's apparently sending messages through. Anyway, so that annoyed me. And this is Grayson who's telling her this. And we get up to 15 for our Grayson eye count. Page 115. Irises around them ice gray. And then I had a sticky note, and on the sticky note I wrote, I get it, they're gray. This continues. I was going insane. I was literally going insane. Anyway, page 116. I'm not going to read the quote because I don't have the quote written down. But basically, Avery has a really bad comeback. She tends to have those, but they act like she's super witty and smart about it. Anyway, that's not the point. Does the angle, like, is the angle giving, like, dream face reveal? Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway. So Grayson, like, kind of threatens her, and my note is, what's he gonna do? Kill her? 200 plus pages says otherwise. Me, 2021. This is me as I'm 14 years old. That's crazy. I was 14 when I read. Oh my god, I'm getting old. Anyway, I heard it's enemies to lovers, but the hate is so putrid. I don't want to see that. Me, 2021. It's not even that it was putrid. I don't even know. He was basically threatening to kill her. Honestly, anyway. Drake is the name of the ex-boyfriend. He shows up. I forgot about him. He didn't show up for a while, and so I completely forgot about him. I don't have good object permanence. Okay, leave me alone. Anyway, there's a video of him slandering. I just want you to know, her initials are AKG. I just want you to know that. Anyway, he's slandering her. The Hawthorne sisters are at a press conference. They're also slandering her. They're basically saying, we don't know if he slept with her. And she's like, dude, I'm 18. I'm 18 years old. Leave me alone. And then I said that, Tobias Hawthorne? Tobias Hawthorne said, fuck them kids. He had Toby, who was his golden child. He messed it up for everyone. When he died, he was never the same. And so he messed it up. Like, Toby was going to get all the inheritance, and then, because he died, we finally had a chance. But now he doesn't. Anywho, they thought that Grayson was going to be the heir apparent because of his demeanor. But Jameson was most like Toby. And so he was kind of Tobias Hawthorne's favorite, despite Grayson being like, obviously he would be the heir. He's the most responsible, kind of, right? But anyway, so he added his middle name when his son died. So like he didn't have a middle name until like 10 years ago, which was like, ooh, why did he do that? I don't know. It's not really explained, and it's kind of surface level anyway. It's so on the nose. Most things in this book are so on the nose. Tatters all. He tatters all. Anyway, Toby died at 19, not 17. See, there goes the age thing again. So he would have been 29. Then what we find out is there was a fire, and that killed Toby. Like, they couldn't find his body, but he was with some friends, and his friends were dead. So, like, they assumed that he was dead. And so Zara, or whoever, no, Sky's like, he disappeared. And Zara's like, dude, he died. Like, I don't know what, he's dead. Anyway, so Libby needs to lie low, because she's kind of the reason that Drake is doing whatever. Because, he's abusive, and they were dating. And Avery needs to get a makeover. And so she has, like, hair and makeup done or something. There's, like, there's a bowling alley in Hawthorne House. And she, like, scans in, and it's like, welcome to Hawthorne House, Avery Kylie Grams. And she's like, what the? That is so freaky. It knows me already. Anyway, then she goes to rock climbing. Sorry, I'm so slow. I'm sorry. Anyway, she goes to rock climbing. And Jameson Hawthorne is there. And his shirt is really tight on his back muscles. And he's climbing. And she can watch him climbing. And he's all sweaty. And I don't know why people think sweaty men are attractive. They smell putrid. Like, if you've ever been around a man that is sweating, it is actually insane. It's like, I never knew a human being could smell this bad. And yet here you are proving me wrong. Anyway, not the point. Point being, he's like, have you ever rock climbed before? And she's like, no, but I could figure it out. And then she almost falls, because whoop-de-doo. And Jameson, like, catches her. And she's like,
I can't focus on his muscles.
Anywho, Grayson is staring at her.
She's like, I feel like someone's staring at me.
And it's Grayson with his light eyes on page 130 at 17 mentions. So then we're back to the library. It's the three of them now. Dude, my phone is like going to be the death of me. It says it's still recording, but like it's not showing me anything. It's probably at like 10%. I'll probably need to charge it. I'll get back to you. If I lose more audio, I think I'll go insane. I got another 18 minutes in. I readjusted, took a little breather, charged my phone. And then the fire alarm went off when I was 18 minutes into a new recording. I thought, no biggie, I'll just splice it together. It's kind of funny anyway. And then I went to check the footage to show my roommate. And I lost all of the audio. So we're starting back from the libraries. We are... I don't even remember where we are. What are we doing here? Okay. Anywho, the three of them go back to the library because, I don't know, Jason, whatever his fucking name is, Grayson, he was staring at Avery when she was staring at his brother, sweating and shirtless. And she mentions his sharp eyes. That makes 19. And then in Grayson's eyes, making 20. These are on the same page. Just for you to, get a reference. Anyway. They're like, it's probably my grandfather's last game. I don't even know, dude. I'm so tired of recording this video. So many things have gone wrong. I'm actually going to go insane. Okay. I'm just gonna kind of skip through. They're still grinding on that day. Not in that way. What was the joke I made? I was like, they're on their book grind or something. I don't know. It was funny, but it's not like I could check the footage anyway. I can't hear it. So, okay. They are all searching. Jameson catches it. Inside of it, I'm just gonna skip ahead. There's a red filter paper. They run it through the book. What do they see? If there is a blank, there's a blank. Avery, in her mastermind genius, goes, if there's a will, there's a way. It must be the proverb, dude. As in she's a surfer. Dude, she's a proverb. Anyway. They're like, oh my god, if there's a will, maybe there's a red will. Spoiler alert, there's a red will. She asks Alyssa to take her to it. She goes to read it, and the only words, are the boys' middle names. Anyway, and she's like, is that their father's last names? What's happening? I don't know. She goes, she runs into Nash when she's home, and he's like, by the way, when we were younger, every birthday you would have a mission, like you would be given a riddle to solve. And Grayson and Jameson always would team up and then betray each other at the very end. So, definitely not foreshadowing the book. I'm just saying, like, this is the trend that they have. Anyway, they had weekly riddles. Oh, the birthday was something else. It was they're like, oh, I'm going to invest in something. And then the riddles were, oh, I'm going to stab my brother in the back. Anyway. She goes to the solarium, and for the second and I believe last time, Jameson is very drunk and very shirtless. He is a very indecent drunk, it would appear. And so she goes up to him and she's like, I think I know. It was your middle names. We need to figure out what they mean. And so she's like, is it your father's middle name? Like your father's last name? And he goes, Dude, I don't know. My mom doesn't talk about my dad. Like, she doesn't talk about any of our dads. And so they go to a very more indecent Sky Hawthorne, who is in a bubble bath. And Grayson, whatever his name is, Jameson, I told you, it's going to happen the entire time. Jameson is like, tell me about it. And this guy's like, I want to talk to Avery, actually. And she, like, threatens Avery while she's butt-ass naked in the bath. It's actually like, okay, whatever. And she reveals at the end that Tobias Hawthorne chose the boys' middle names. And then here's the age confirmation. This is still wrong. I believe he is 23, but Grayson is 19, Jameson's 18, Xander is 16. I didn't realize how small of a part Xander played until going over this for the, like, third time in a row. I'm, like, going to die, I think, actually. Anyway, so she and what's-his-face go and drive around. I'm getting deja vu in an Aston Martin Valkyrie. I don't know when I talked about this. I have no idea when I talked about anything. They do a joyride. Oren's mad. There's a photo. Drake shows up or something. No, they go to school, and we meet Rebecca, who's the sister of the girl who died. Her name's Emily. I don't know how much of this I already hit. Dude, I did not review the footage. I'm winging this, like, so hard. This is not even funny. Anyway. So she's going to the foundation, but Grayson is there instead of Zawa Hawthorne. And he's mad. His eyes are also liquid gray. His suit's liquid gray. His eyes are liquid gray. That makes whatever that number is, 17. Bonus point, he arches a brow. I think I covered I think I covered this when the sun was still out. But we're just gonna keep trucking along. I don't even know where I am at this point. I don't know what's happening. His eyes, again, 18. His eyes, again, 19. Grayson is sulking or something.
Avery's like, I'm not a gold digger.
She talks about... So this is another eye thing. This gets us up to 25. I don't know how to count, apparently, so it does get us up to 25. The tally is right, I'm wrong. Which, I mean, I guess that would mean that I'm wrong and the tally is wrong, because I did make the tally, but that's beside the point. The tally is probably slightly inaccurate. Anyway, the point being...
She says everyone had things they found inexplicably attractive. Apparently, for me, it was suit-wearing, silver-eyed guys using the word empirically and taking for granted that I know what it means.
Anyway, the foundation donates more than he gave anyone in the will. It's $100 million a year. And they're like, this is really important. You better not mess it up. Nash kind of is with Libby or whatever her name is. Because Drake's back, and he's like storming the castle, if you will. And Avery's in the car, and she's in the car with Grayson. I think they're coming home from school. And Grayson, like, grabs her wrist and goes, no, don't. You have to be safe. And she goes... Dude, let me go. Like, if that was your sister, or if that was one of your brothers, like, what would you do? And he goes, like... And he... What is that? Is he, like, pooping? I don't know. He gets mad. But he lets her go.
His touch is gentle. Slowly enough, I think that says... I felt the pads of his fingers skim my knuckles.
Like, she's simping hard for him, dude. That's when, like, I think he's endgame. She's simping hard for him.
So Grayson's trying to protect her, but she is like, no, you're also protective, so you wouldn't like that.
Anyway, she has this impromptu press conference. She puts herself between the paparazzi and Drake, and she goes, I know why Hawthorne chose, I forgot his name, what Tobias Hawthorne chose me for. And then, yeah, she goes back in. Libby's stress baking. She's like, this is my fault. Yeah, it kind of is. But anyway, that's beside the point. He has a restraining I almost said a restraining disorder. They have a restraining order on Drake. And they say statistically, right, when you get a restraining order, the person's more likely to kill you after that. Not to be foreshadowing or anything, just to, throw that out there. Excuse me. Just to throw that out there. Anyway, so, Avery is watching the, press conference that she did,
And she's like, oh my god, I look like a hawthorn.
and so, that's my impression, thank you. And so, Jameson secret passages into her room again, as he does, and he's like, I like that you lied to the press. You did lie, right? And she's like, dude, yeah, what else would I have done? And then she admits to herself,
I like both of them. I like Grayson and Jameson.
girl, give us nothing. Anyway. He plays 2 lies, 1 truth. I don't remember what the lies were, but I know that the truth was, I watched Emily Lachlan die. I had to think of her last name. You have to give me a minute, dude. Today has been too much. Anyway, there's a bridge. They're using okay, that doesn't make any sense. They're using the middle names as, context towards, where they need to go. And one of the places brings them to a bridge, right? And they're looking for something in the bridge, and they're like, what are we looking for? We don't know. And so, Mr. Jameson over here gets the brilliant idea, oh, I'm just gonna dangle Avery over the bridge, and she's gonna look under it for me. Nothing's under there, only Avery at that point. And so she gets back up, and there's a loose, oh god, what's it called? There's a loose, plank in the bridge that she's like, and again, she takes it off, and there's an 8 or an infinity symbol. My roommate and I went and got a Chick-fil-A milkshake, and I am very lactose intolerant, so I will be hiccuping throughout the rest of this video. I don't apologize. I do not regret it, but that will be a disclosure for you. It was not a wise decision, but it was a good decision, considering that we just went on a fire drill. I'm gonna be so mad if I check this and, my audio's gone again. Okay, anyway, I'm, freaking out. I'm, gonna die, I think. Anyway. I don't know what the 48 means. We're halfway through. Nash stayed the night in Libby's room. How scandalous. He was trying to make sure that she was okay or something. I don't know. Alyssa is kind of yeah, he has, charity cases. Dude, But, anyway, they go to school. There's a gala some weekend soon. Not sure if it's this or next. I don't remember. I actually did not read the second time. I read this 4 years ago and then skimmed it to write down the important plot points. So, enjoy that. Anyway, she needs media training because of her little fiasco. So, she needs media training, she needs a little hair and makeup, and she needs, what is that? And she needs her, clothes. Because you kind of need those. Those are a little important. Thea is the girl who told her about Emily. Right. Thea is the girl who told her, oh, someone died in that house or something. I don't know. It was something to that effect. I just wiped some of my eyeshadow off. Sick, dude. Anyway, I had an itch. What can I say? It'll be. She, is, like, their cousin. She, like, dated Xander at one point, but, like, oh, cousins by marriage. She likes loopholes. Okay. Anyway, she's staying at the Hawthorne house. Yeah. Anyway, Canny Silver Eyes on page 240. That gets us up to 26. I'm so done with this book. Anyway, Grayson was at the bridge. He saw everything. He knows kind of where they're going with the clues that Jameson is thinking of, and Avery's following suit. So, just another reminder that Avery's not actually doing anything in this book. She could literally be replaced with a lampshade with a photo. Spoilers, we'll get there. But she could. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna finish that sentence, but she could. Anyway, they get to an acre that has at least 400 trees or something. Well, it's not an acre, it's like a forest. There's like 2 acres, so like 200 trees per acre. I don't know. I actually don't know how big an acre is. I'll be so for real. I have a really bad depth perception. So, okay. They're looking around. Thea and Xander are following them or something to find whatever. I don't know. But Xander and Thea, they're exes.
Xander's always been a fan of loopholes.
Xander, you weirdo. That's your cousin, Xander. Anyway, there's a tree that has the name Tobias Hawthorne II engraved on it. And then, get down! Boom! Avery's shot at. It doesn't hit her, though, so it's like, God, that would have made it so much more interesting if she ended up in the hospital. No, she was a little spooked. It hits a tree, so someone is there. There are 2 bullets shot. It hits a tree and dislodges the bark into her, like, ribcage or something. I don't know. That's scary, but, like, it would have been far more interesting if she actually did get shot. Anyway, she's taken to the bathroom in the cottage that the Lachlan's live on. So the Lachlan's live, like, near the woods in a cottage. And, it's, like, Emily and Rebecca's, like, grandparents. So Rebecca comes by every weekend or something. I don't know. But Rebecca is there. And, Miss Lachlan is like, help the poor girl. They, like, stitch her up. And then she's like, okay, go to the bathroom to, like, wash yourself. And so she's, like, in the bathroom, but she's still, like, shell-shocked. Someone just tried to murder her. She was told that this wouldn't happen, but it's happening. And so she's, like, sitting in front of the faucet, and she's not doing anything. She's just, like 1,000 yards staring. And then from behind her, she feels hands. And instead of being like, oh my God, don't touch me, because she just got almost shot, she just kind of, like, stays there. And it's Jameson. And he reaches in and he turns on the faucet. And he takes the cloth and he, like, cleans her up. And then they make out. I'm like, so for real with you. They make out. Oh, and then I wrote, by the way, his eyes are green. It's mentioned a few times that his eyes are green, but it is incomprehensible how many times Grayson's eyes are mentioned, that whenever Jameson's are, I'm like, oh yeah, Jameson has eyes. You know what I mean? Like, it's that apparent. Anyway, they kiss. And then Jameson starts going like, this could actually be really good. Like, what if the puzzle's of it? And Avery's like, dude, I almost died. Like, she gets, like, really mad at him. And so they kind of, like, he's like, oh, well, this could be a game. Like, what if it, like, Emily's involved, right? Like, this could be a game. She's like, really? And he's like, everything's a game. And so she's basically like, oh, I'm a puzzle piece, right? Because you see in the cover, which you probably don't because it's really overexposed, we have a glass ballerina, a dagger, a pawn, like a chess pawn, key, stuff of the like. These are all running metaphors throughout. And they aren't very well done, in my opinion. They're very on the nose. You know, like if you're having a metaphor, it's not like, oh, this is a game and I'm the ballerina. Because, like, what he would do, right, Tobias, that would be part of his puzzles, right? Each puzzle, he would set out a glass ballerina and then a couple other things. I don't remember what any of the other ones are. She's always compared to the ballerina. And so it's like she's like, this is all a game to them. Yeah, it's all a game to them. Dude, you haven't known them for that long. You've known them for like 2 weeks. Like, calm down. They're not in love with you. They don't like you. Anyway, she basically makes out with Jameson Hawthorne and then immediately is like, I just kissed Grayson's brother. Girl, you can't think of someone's brother right after making out with him. Like, you can't do that. You can't do that, dude. Like, that's so messed up. Oh, yeah, I know. I just, like, shoved my tongue down your throat. But, like, your brother is so hot. Like, you can't do that. But she did. And, this is kind of, like, just Avery's thing. Anyway, Rebecca is, like, talking to Avery about how, like, oh, Emily didn't want to pick between the two boys, right? Because she ended up having, like, a love triangle with Jason and Gramerson. Why are their names so similar? I hate that. Whatever their fucking names are, dude. She was dating both of them at the same time. I can't anymore. It's 8 p.m. The fire alarm went off. She was dating both of the boys at the same time. And they didn't like this. They wanted to win, right? One of them wanted to prevail, but she wanted both. And so she kind of was stringing them both along. And then Grayson saw her die. And he blames it on Jameson. Or, like, no. Jameson blames it on Grayson. Because Grayson was there when she died. And Jameson is like, oh, Grayson was there when she died, so therefore he must have done it or something. I don't know. Anyway, Grayson told Rebecca that it was Emily's heart. Because Emily had a heart condition, an inexplicable heart condition. We're never told what it is. And she needed a transplant. And her body basically, it didn't reject the transplant. It's just, it was so new. It, like, we'll get to it. So, Grayson is cleared, right? They're running in, like, internal investigation to see who, like, tried to basically murder the master of the house. And Avery's like, whew, Grayson didn't try to kill me. She's, like, really relieved by this for some reason. 'Cause he's endgame. And so she, like, starts yelling at Alyssa. She's like, you said I was gonna be safe here, and blah, blah, blah. And Alyssa was like, we were assuming you'd be safe. We did not ever say that you were completely, like, it was some, like, legal jargon. I don't know. Anyway, so she was like, well, you told me that, like, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, Alyssa goes, well, for the will to be valid, you do have to live in Hawthorne House for a year, which I will admit would be quite the difficult stipulation to fulfill if you were dead. So she could just be murdered. But then it was like, oh, but if she's murdered, it's going to go to her next of kin. What is it? What is it? Who is it? Who is it going to go to? Who, what, where, when, why, how? Like, okay, anyway. Libby was with Nash during the shooting, so both of them are clear. But Oren is like, I'm not going to leave you. Even in Hawthorne House, I'm not going to leave your side. And so Jameson and Grayson were the last visitors at the armory with a possible gun that could have killed Avery. And so she's like, oh my god, they could have done it. Even though they're cleared, they could have done it. And so she goes, I want to see, because the rifles are Winchester, and that's one of their last names. And so she's like, I want to see the Winchesters. So she goes in and she finds the clue 1. This was me speculating. I read the book, I just forgot what happened. Anyway, the 2 is null, but like the 1, so now we have an 8 and a 1. Max is ghosting her. Again, she's not very important. Oh, never mind. She ghosts her very briefly. And she's like,
You know how much trouble I'm in because of you.
and then she's like, she's basically, like, her and Avery have this, like, you've been a really bad friend, Avery. And Avery's been like, oh my god, it has always been about me. Like, I haven't been there for Max when she needs me. And so Max is like, and I can't even be mad at you because someone almost shot you and you almost died. And so Max is like, if you die, you owe me Australia. And she's like, you mean a trip to Australia? No, you owe me Australia. Anyway, someone's at the secret passageway. She's like, Jameson? No one answers. So Avery goes and tells Oren, and he seals off the passage, and she goes to sleep in Libby's room. I don't think that's important. Oh, we have a flashback to her mom. We have quite a few of these. They're kind of important, but they, like, add up to later on. I'm not dealing with all of that. Drake is still doing, you know, okay, so Thea knows that Avery because Rebecca told her, Thea knows that Avery and Jameson kissed in Emily's old bedroom. Someone just dropped something. In Emily's old bedroom. Which is really classy. You have a dead girl who you used to date and you're kissing a new girl in her bedroom. That's really, really cool of you, Jameson. Anywho. So she's asked to pick something up. The, like, mother-in-law is like, bring me that tray. So she goes to pick it up and she, like, winces, and that's how Xander finds out that she's injured. He's like, what happened? She's like, well, they shot at me. And then I think Grayson overhears or something. I don't know. And either way, Grayson finds out and he's pissed off at Oren and he's like, where were you? Where were you? Anyway, Grayson and Jameson, I wrote, have a cock off. So Grayson is worried and gets mad because Jameson was also there. And Jameson is, like, sarcastic about it. I don't know. I don't remember what that's in reference to. It doesn't matter. So she's starting to doubt Libby. She's like, if this is Drake, right, or my dad, because that's something Alyssa mentioned was, well, your dad's a deadbeat. You just got $46 billion, right? And Libby was in contact with her dad. So she's like, this could be one of two people right now who tried to kill me. Anyway, Davenport. That's one of the other middle names, which is a piece of furniture. It's often a sofa or a desk or something. I don't know. She searches with Libby, and then she ends up in, like, a spare room. And she talks with Libby about whatever, and Libby's like, why didn't you tell me you were injured or something? I realize I could have done this in a more effective manner. Oops, sorry, I skipped some of your gameplay. There you go. You're welcome. I realize I could have done this differently. I usually do. I don't know what happened. Today's been a day, that's for certain. Anyway, so Libby kind of storms off, and Avery's just looking on her own. And she finds one, and she, like, does the whatever with it. And she finds the number, but Grayson beat her to it. So again, she didn't really do anything. Grayson was already there looking at the Davenport. So even though she figured it out completely on her own, she still, like, didn't do anything for the story. Because Grayson still found it first. Anyway, Nash is 25. See, I still don't remember this. Nash is 25. Anyway.
silver eyes catching mine.
I think that's 28 or something. I don't know. Grayson is like, you're injured. I want to see it. And so she just goes, and she pulls down her shirt. And I think he, like, touches it or something. I don't know. Anyway, she says, before his pulling his gaze from my skin. So anyway, that's 29. So it's the shape of a number 1 is what she finds in one of the compartments. So now we have 811. But we still can't figure out what the forest clue is. But regardless about that, we have another flashback with her mom, which again doesn't really do much. Avery is about to debut, but car chase. She's sitting here in the car thinking about like when Grayson was like feeling up her little chest wound, and she's like, oh my god, I can remember it so clearly. And so I was like, yeah, he's definitely endgame. Anyway, there's a car chasing him, and they're trying to ram him off the road. Thea's in the car with her. They're going to like a bridal shop or something to buy Avery a dress for this like gala that's coming up. And they still do that or something. I don't know. I don't remember if this is before or after. It's one of the two. It's not awfully important. Anyway, they find out that it was Jake. Who's Jake? They find out it was Drake. He had matching bullets and a matching rifle. Oops. And he is arrested, right? Because it turns out they were staging this. Avery did not know. She's like, you could have told me. And they were like, we needed it to be as authentic as possible. The less people that knew, the better. So she's like, we could have literally died. And he was like, it was under control. And she's like, that does not matter. At this point is when Alyssa's like, maybe Libby's in contact with your dad and trying to kill you. The police took Libby for investigation. And she's like, Avery's like pissed. She's like, get her a lawyer. And they're like, and she's like, do it. Get her one of our lawyers. I own a law firm. Get her one of my lawyers. So they do. She comes back eventually, I think. Anyway. Libby apologizes and she throws her phone in the blender. And she's like, we're gonna need a new blender. Shut up. Anyway, they figure that Drake was probably led in through the tunnels. So someone with insider knowledge needed to have brought him into the forest somehow. Because all the security footage was fine. She's talking about element of surprise. I don't even know. But she gets to the gala and like Grayson, he's like holding a glass or something. And he like just stares at her. And she's like, did I make his jaw drop? And then he drops the glass. And she's like, oh, that's not good. And he's like, what are you wearing? And so she goes to the bathroom. Someone shows her a photo. And she's dressed exactly like Emily. She's wearing the same type of dress, the same jewelry, same hairstyle. Everything is the exact same. It was staged by Thea, I believe. Because Thea gave the hairdresser the idea for her, dude, Skip, go away. Thank you. Gives them the idea for the hairstyle. So what did I said? I said honorable eye mention. Grayson's not looking at her. He closes his eyes, remembering. I don't know what that's in reference to. Anyway, they're sitting at dinner, and she's kind of like, she's sitting next to him, dressed up as like basically his ex-girlfriend, and he's kind of just like, do not talk to me. And she's like, duly noted. She knocks a glass of wine over and spills it all over Alyssa. And she's like, I really don't belong here. I don't fit in. Because, you know. Anyway, she feels like she doesn't belong. She goes up, and there's like a place that's like shadowed or something, like an attic, and she sees Jameson just hiding in the shadows for some reason, and she's like, I'm done with you. And he's like, I don't care about Emily. Like he's trying to keep her. I don't even know. Anyway, Grayson comes in. His eyes are still closed. I guess he can just walk blind. And he says, "Did Jameson tell you that I killed her?" And she's like, "What?" Anyway, they leave. Like, they just go and, like, disappear. I don't know. And Xander, she's all of a sudden, like, dancing in the ballroom with Xander, because they're like, "You need to come back at least, because you're debuting. You need to be here for your party." So Xander's like, "Yeah, I get 100 mil from crypto. Like, I'm kind of set, dude." And so, anyway, he keeps calling himself throughout this entire book a Rube Goldberg machine, which is... It's such an on-the-nose metaphor. It's so on the nose to be like, "Oh, I'm just, like, so complex. I need 10 gadgets to push a car for." Like, shut your corny ass up, dude. I don't need to hear it. Anyway, very, very on the nose metaphor. Regardless, the boys aren't allowed to share what their investments are in. It's a secret. And so he's like telling Avery this. I don't know why she doesn't count in this stipulation. I suppose the guy's dead, so I don't know if it matters anyway, but, you know. Anyway, Xander says deeply in love with Rebecca or something. I don't know. He fake dated Thea. There's like a weird triangle there. I don't remember what happened. They find out whatever the night she died. There's a whole thing. There was a whole thing. Anyway. So he goes, "Jameson and Grayson are in a helicopter right now. You should go catch up with them." So she's like, okay. She goes into the helicopter, and they fly up above the forest, and there's a big hole. It's a 0! Ah! And so we have the numbers 8110. And they're trying to guess what this could be. Like, is it a date, right? And she goes, 10/18, October 18th, my birthday. And Jameson's like, "Your what?" And she's like, "It's my birthday. That's my birthday." And he's like, "You're kidding." She's like, "Nope, that's my birthday." Turns out, and Grayson is very calmly explaining this, despite he's also, like, upset, but he's being very calm and patient with Avery, and he's, like, actually giving her the time of day. And he's like holding her back, being like, "Dude, leave him alone." That's Emily's date of death. Which brings up so many questions. First of all, what did Grace, whatever his name is, Tobias Hawthorne, did he go around looking for girls with just different names just in case something like this happened? Like, what are the odds? And because later the explanation is, oh, he just really liked anagrams and your name was funny. That doesn't explain the fact that her birthday aligns with Emily's date of death at all, actually. What are the odds of that? Did he just do this with everyone? No. Because the anagram, and we get into this later, it's kind of a spoiler, but that's what you're here for, is a very risky gamble. So what, he was just gambling on the, like... Anyway, we find out eventually that the will was changed 1 year ago when Emily died. So, anyway, she, like, searched his face in his eyes or something. We're up to 30. Oh, shut up, YouTube. Anyway, I made a prediction. It was wrong. It's kind of embarrassing how many things that I got wrong despite having read this book before. But that's beside the point. Anyway, she, right, there's another typo on page 318 that says the word Christmas time. And I say word because there was no space between Christmas and time. It was just Christmas time. Anyway, that is not correct. We find out she had the heart condition, got a transplant. So she really wanted to go cliff diving. And everyone was trying to convince her not to, but she was one of those where she was going to get her way. And someone convinced Jameson, like, you can't let her go. You have to, like, break up with her so she won't go cliff diving because she will die. So Jameson agrees. And she ends up going to Grayson instead, making him think, oh, he won. Making him think, oh, she chose him, when really Jameson broke up with her. But she wasn't going to let him know that. She made him think, oh, I chose you, Grayson. Let's go cliff diving. And so Grayson takes her cliff diving, and when they jump, and she has him go to get towels. And when he comes back, she's just dead on the beach. Like, her heart failed. And so, like, the adrenaline was too much for her heart, and it killed her. And so at the funeral, Tobias Hawthorne turns to Grayson and says, family first. Okay, weirdo. Anyway. His eyes are mentioned again. They're silver. That's 31. There's a photo. It says photo with his name. I don't even know who, what, where, when, or why, but it's XXVIII. 1018, whoop, that's Tobias Hawthorne. That's who it was. Or Toby, I don't even remember. Anyway, Avery, like, feels for, like, a little release on the portrait, opens it, there's a little glass thing inside with a poem. That may or may not be the same one as the one that was in Jameson's letter, I don't remember. But anyway, she goes to the solarium, she finds Jameson in there. And he already has like a half a dozen of this same clue on the floor. And he's like, those numbers are everywhere. If you know to look, they are everywhere. Like, he's haunting me in the death. So again, Avery does something on her own, but it's pointless because someone else beat her to it. She is literally not necessary in the story at all. She is not necessary. And it could work as like, oh, you're actually like a prop rather than a character, but it falls flat when you realize she's supposed to be super smart and intelligent, and she's not doing anything. Like, she's set up as a super intelligent character, and like she's set up at the beginning as, oh, she could do anything, and then she can't do anything on her own, apparently, you know? Anyway, Jameson's like, this has to be the answer. He's just trying to remind me. I quit. Like, he forfeits. Avery is like, no, we need to keep going. She decodes the poem. It is not the same. I remember now. It's not the same. She starts decoding the poem. And so her and Xander are trying to solve the riddle. And so he, like, they're going around. He's helping her. Avery has facial recognition or something in this place because they decode the riddle, and they end up in this, like, place underground in the tunnels. And there's facial recognition for Avery. And so she, again, she could be like a key and a lock and it would work. Like, if she doesn't need to exist. But anyway, they go in and there are 4 doors, one for each Hawthorne brother. And so they can't get in without the Hawthorne boys. So they need to get Jameson and Grayson both back in the game. Nash, they're not overly worried about because Xander's like, yeah, if I just asked him to come down, he probably would. But Grayson and Jameson are struggling right now. And so, Rebecca is in there. She's on her own, and they suggest that she was the one who let Drake in. And she makes this whole thing of how, oh, it's what Emily would have wanted, blah, blah, blah. And so, eventually, Avery's like, so you were gonna kill me? And she's like, no, I'm not Emily. Anyway, that was her plot point. I'm just gonna skip through. Grayson is in the tunnels. He's like really mad because he thinks that she was going to try to kill Avery. He's like really possessive over Avery. 32, his silver eyes met mine. Avery's like, he would choose his family over me every time. Yeah, obviously. Anyway, so they finally get everyone here. She finds out that it was Sky Hawthorne who let Drake in. So Sky was trying to kill Avery. And Grayson's like, yeah, this doesn't fly. Let me handle her. She's my mother. Like, and she's like, oh, well, she's your family. You're just going to choose her over me anyway. And so she pitches a game. I think he does. He goes, okay, pick a number 1 through 10. And if I'm right, I get to do what I want. But if you are right, you can call the police on her. So Avery goes through all this mathematics. She's like, okay, so 7 is a lucky number, and then blah, 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 blah. Most people pick 5, blah, blah, blah. She tries to reason this so much where, oh, I'm going to pick something super insane. And then Grayson gets it right. Because she probably should have just said 7. Like, no one's going to pick 7. Like, realistically, right? People are always trying to think that you're outsmarting them. So if you're going to, like, pick a number, do one of the most obvious ones. 5, 7, 10, 1. They're not going to guess those. They're going to be like, oh, you're going to try to go super obscure. Let's go 6, right? All the time. That's what they'll do. Her number was 2. He's relieved. He's like, oh, I don't have to call the police on my mom. But he kicks her out of Hawthorne House. He's like, you're not allowed to live here anymore. Like, you have to leave. Otherwise, I will call the police. So she's dealt with at the very least. Jameson, oops. I don't know what that is. Jameson shows up, albeit late, but he shows up. And all 4 of them unlock the door. And then Jameson just walks off. And they're like, dude, you need to stay here. Like, we still need you. And Avery tries to follow him, but, like, they have to jump up this, like, shaft. And so she, like, slips, and Grayson catches her underneath and pushes her up. And then he follows her out. And then there's this whole thing. And Jameson's like, oh, this is all a trap for me. He was trying to blah, blah, blah. And then, because they're like, he knew. And they're like, he knew what? And turns out, Jameson knew that Emily died. Because he was there when she died. Part of his 2 truths, his 2 lies, 1 truth, was, I watched Emily Loughlin die. Turns out, it was because he went to go anyway to the cliff diving, because he knew that Jameson, whatever his name is, Grayson, was going to be taking him. And so their names are so similar, dude. He, like, sees them as, like, after they jumped. And Grayson walks off to get the towels. And she's, like, smiling at him from the beach. And he kind of just, like, glaring at her. And she starts to, like, struggle. And he hears her making these noises, but he doesn't believe her. He doesn't believe that she's actually struggling. He thinks that she wants his attention. And so he just lets her die. There on the beach, he just walks away as she's dying. And then Grayson came back, and she was dead. And so he's like, I could have called 911. I could have done something. She wouldn't be dead if it weren't for me just walking away. Like, I should have done something. And my grandfather knew. And so, turns out also, Xander, his role in the whole thing, is that Tobias was making him force them to finish this thing to the end. He already knew the outcome. He already knew what the final, like, prize or whatever was. And so he's like, well, I need you guys to actually finish this, because that's when my mission starts. He doesn't say that because he doesn't need them knowing. But, you know, that's his motive. And so all 4 of them go back, and there's a box that says Avery Kylie Grams. And they're like, what? They start to take the tiles off. They rearrange them. It's a very risky gamble. The box opens, and there are letters inside. And Avery's letter is simply an envelope with a sugar packet. And they're like, they don't even question it. They're just kind of like, yep, that's what he would do. And she's like, sugar packet. She remembers when she was a little kid at the restaurant making pyramids out of sugar packets. And so she's like, oh my God, he was there. And she has a flashback, and she remembers him asking for her name and her blah, 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 blah. Yep, that's why he chose her. Because she was a little girl with a funny name. That's literally what the book says. It's so stupid, dude. The twist, the reveal is so dumb. It's so dumb. And it's like what's the guy, Tom Marvolo Riddle from the Harry Potter series? It's like that kind of reveal, but like 10 times worse. Because, like, what do you mean a very risky game? That was a very risky gamble, you're right. What is going on? Anyway, so she was at the diner with her mom. Anyway, she figures this out. Blah, blah, blah. I say this doesn't answer why their birth date and death dates align. It never does. Anyway, she goes and, like, does whatever on her own. And she is sitting at a desk. And she feels around for a secret compartment, and it opens. And there's a folder with her name on it, with photos from her entire life since the diner. But they picked up 10 years ago when What's-His-Face died. That's really creepy. That's, like, so creepy. He has photos of her at work. He has photos of her at the park. He has photos of her at school. Like, it's, like, insane. Like, he has, like, this manila folder full of photos of her. And there's especially more after Emily died. Like, he looked back into her. And so there were photos with her playing poker at the park. They didn't play chess. They played poker. Did they play chess? I don't even remember. She played something with some homeless guy at some park. And there are photos of this. So Grayson's eyes are shadowed. So this is 33. She is like, kind of like, oh, I want to kiss you, Grayson. And he's like, no. He's like, I don't want to let another girl come between me and my brother. And so he lets him. She lets her. He lets her leave. But I think they're gonna end up dating at the end. Like, you be so for real. They're gonna be together. Anyway, yep. Basically, that's basically it. And then there's an epilogue. Well, no. The epilogue comes later. She goes to find Libby and she tells Libby about everything. Libby is there with the mother-in-law playing piano. And the mother-in-law hears about Skye attempting to murder her. And they talk about Toby. And the mother-in-law has, because this is her grandson, the mother-in-law has a photo of Toby in her locket. And she opens it and shows Avery. It's Harry from the park! Dun dun dun! Anyway, epilogue. Xander had an additional mission. And he has tried all sorts of mediums to try to reveal this, like, appearing text. The only one he hasn't tried, because it's obviously permanent, is burning the letter. And when he burns it, it says, find Tobias Hawthorne II. And that's how the book ends. Aren't you glad we went through all of that? I have quite a few opinions on this book. I did not like it. Mainly because it felt kind of surface level. The prose wasn't anything overly challenging or thought-provoking. A lot of the metaphor was very on the nose. Like, especially with the ballerina and the Rube Goldberg machine and all that. Like, it was on the nose, right? I don't know, I didn't like it. The characters felt very two-dimensional. They didn't feel like real people. They all had very weird interactions. There were times where it's like, a person would not talk like that, or a person would not act like that. And yeah, it kind of felt like Avery she was a very static character throughout all of this, except she got traumatized when she almost got shot, but, like, she felt very static, and it didn't feel like there was much development in any sense of the word. The only development really was that she wanted to kiss Grayson Hawthorne. And it's like, okay, well, that doesn't tell me anything. I don't know. I didn't like it. I felt like it was very technically unchallenging. I felt like the form wasn't very engaging. The chapters were short, which did make it easier to get through. But at that point, it's like, I don't know how worth it that is. You know what I mean? I don't know. It was an interesting concept, and it could have been a very good book, but I felt like it fell flat on a lot of fronts, and that is kind of, it's a bit disheartening, honestly, because I was like, oh, this could have been so cool. But instead, it was just kind of like boring. It was like a boring mystery. And like, I'm not a very active reader. I'm not trying to solve the mystery as it's going on. I was still bored. It still felt like everything was just kind of like, oh, okay. Like, Avery didn't have much of a part in this. She could have been replaced with a lampshade that had Toby's face in the park, like a photo of her and Toby playing poker at the park. And they could have gotten to the end of this anyway. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know. It was like, I don't know. I felt like the technique wasn't very good. And when I was reading it, it kind of almost felt like a debut. It's not a debut. Not even close to a debut. And so, I don't know. It was very TikTok-esque. Thank God for TikTok. I'm so glad that TikTok isn't, like, permanently banned in the US, because it'll be so hard to do these videos without TikTok. Oh, I was like, how am I gonna do that? Because, like, I mean, I guess Instagram Reels, but Instagram Reels is all of the, like, weird, like, alpha wolf people. I don't know. Anyway, point being, I didn't like this book. I didn't like the technique. I didn't like the form. And I felt like it could have been done better. But, I don't know. If you're looking for a book to turn your brain off, I feel like this is definitely one of them. This is one of the most books of all time. It certainly exists, and it certainly has words on it. But, yeah. Anyway, that's all I have. All my disappointment, especially since I really did want to like this book, because it was given to me by a person that I did quite like. And so, yeah, I really wanted to like it. But I realized I only had negative things to say about this book. And so, I'm like, well, I have something to say now. So, anyway, yeah, that's that. Okay, you can leave.